start off, maybe you give us a little bit of background of FREEMEN, the company that you founded.
All right. Well, FREEMEN was actually founded about 3 years ago. And I'm glad to say the reason why we did FREEMEN, or we created FREEMEN, was because we wanted to educate people to achieve their financial freedom through ways of investments, mainly through the property investments, using properties as a tool. So that's one of the reasons why we did that.
Okay. So what are some of the secrets? What do people have to do? Maybe the steps in accumulating property and making it, to be a wealthy sort of investment.
Well, it may sound a little bit cliche, Anita, but there's actually no big secret about it. Property investment is basically hard work.
Okay.
Lots of research, lots of walking around. So it's a lot of good exercise, calling and searching through the internet. Now, with the amazing technology we have, most of the work can be found online as well. And basically, by doing all that, you can actually find some pretty good deals, even in times like now. Okay. And achieve your financial freedom through it. Okay,
and you started off, I understand, you hit rock bottom 4 years ago, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm not mistaken. Share with us, how did this, sort of going, way below your wealth sort of level, and now you're a millionaire in your 30s?
It was quite an interesting story. Well, I am in business, and I've always been a businessman. And this was one of my past businesses where I went into a rather bad partnership. And my partners actually left me high and dry and took away quite a few million worth of my customers' money. So obviously I went bankrupt after that.
Okay.
Right? Close to bankrupt. And that was one of the biggest realization I have when you don't have really a lot of money in. And I was always busy working, and even in the business. And I always thought that I believed in a business, or the income I get I could achieve my financial freedom through it. And that was a big, huge shock to me when the income stopped coming in. I realized that a lot of things were still dependent on me.
Okay.
Now, the interesting part about the story was that I did do a little bit of investments prior to the incident. And so when there was no money coming into the bank account, it was quite hilarious because I started noticing a few hundred ringgit. It wasn't much, because there were quite a few small properties at that time. But I saw a few hundred ringgit start coming in, and I asked my wife, I said, honey, do you know where this money come from? And she told me, oh, these are some of the properties you invested some time ago. And that really was my biggest realization then, that if you really did put a little bit of effort into it and invest some of the money that you make into this kind of investments, maybe property or stocks or shares or unit trust, that gives you this residual income.
Okay.
Surprisingly enough, you can actually, if you do a little bit more work onto it, it actually runs without you. So that was my biggest realization, and I told myself when I started again, when I bounced back up again, that I would put a fair bit of my effort into property investments.
Okay. So you started this, 4 years ago?
Yes.
That's when you went into FREEMEN, and okay, what was the first thing that you saw that could make you money? I mean, in property, in terms of what was it? Buying apartments, landed houses, or was it retail, or? Or was it cumulative of a few of those things? Well,
way back then, I would say it's the year 2008, 2009 where I really started.
Okay.
Well, again, at that point, I didn't really have a lot of money with me. Right?
Okay, but you had a lot of properties.
No, actually, it was when I just started. Right?
Okay.
So I was just coming out of debt.
Yeah.
And so what I really started in was actually low cost.
Okay.
And it was an amazing journey because those properties are they're very robust, meaning that in bad times, because remember in 2008, 2009, it was a correction in the market due to the US subprime.
Yes.
And so a lot of people were fearful about the market. And when I entered into it and I got those properties, it actually relatively gave me a lot of good rentals.
Okay.
So I actually started with apartments,
so
low cost apartments.
So you just be making actually a few hundred ringgit.
A few hundred ringgit
from one. Yeah. But when you buy those properties, how do you go about financing it? Since I'm sure the banks won't be so open to borrowing you money.
That's true.
As and when.
The secret to my success, I don't mind telling you, Anita, is actually I do something called little or no money down.
Okay.
So I buy properties for free.
All right.
And basically how I do is a little bit of leveraging with the properties and all.
Okay.
A simple example would be, for example, I would buy a property using money, right? And then after that, I would refinance it with the bank. So if let's say, for example, I bought a property, which I did. I bought a property which was worth 80,000 in the market, low cost. But I bought it at auction at a point at 60,000. And so then when I bought it and I went back to the bank and I refinanced it.
Even after you just bought it, I thought they'll have a cap.
Oh yeah,
like
it takes some time. It takes some time.
Yeah,
it took me
like
about
a couple of years.
6 months actually.
Oh, 6 months.
It's not too long. And so that I managed to get a little bit of money out of it.
Okay, so from that particular one, then you started rolling with the other. Oh, okay.
Amazing enough, that year I went on to buy on my journey on the low cost. I actually bought about 7 using those techniques.